Terran sat alone at the corner table in the mining outpost's mess hall. His food was cold, but he didn't mind. He was used to being ignored. Around him, the alien crew laughed, shouted, and shared stories in languages that weren't meant for human ears. Their voices echoed off the metal walls of Kellen 4, a lonely mining base floating near the edge of a dense asteroid field. Terran was the only human on the outpost. He had come to this distant place hoping to learn, to grow, and maybe to show others what humans could do. But in the Galactic Union, humans were still new. Most species saw them as weak, slow, and behind in technology. Terran had heard it all. One of the miners, a tall, green-scaled alien named Zarn, walked by and knocked over Terran's drink on purpose. The blue liquid spilled across the table. "Oops," Zarn said, with a wide grin full of sharp teeth. "Careful, little human. You might drown in that." Laughter followed. A few others joined in. Derelict, an insect-like being with 4 arms, and a shiny black shell buzzed with amusement. "You should go back to Earth," Derelict added. "This place is no place for soft ones." Terran calmly wiped the table with a cloth. He didn't say anything. He had learned that words didn't help much here. No one wanted to listen to a human, not unless he did something amazing. Terran hadn't done anything amazing. He worked in maintenance, fixing broken machines, checking systems, replacing wires. It wasn't exciting work, but it was important. Without maintenance, the drill stopped, the power failed, and the whole outpost froze in the cold of space. Still, the others treated him like a joke. Later that day, Terran walked through the dusty hallways of the mining station, holding his repair tools. The walls hummed softly with energy. Every few steps, he passed glowing pipes and flickering panels. He tapped them gently, listening for sounds of damage. He didn't mind the silence. It gave him time to think. He often wondered why the aliens didn't respect humans. Was it because humans didn't have big muscles like the Bravax, or long lifespans like the Shalari? Maybe it was because Earth was still learning space travel while others had starships for thousands of years. But Terran believed in something else, something older, something deeper. He believed in human spirit, believed in the power to adapt, to learn, and to rise. He just hadn't found a chance to show it yet. As he walked past the station, he noticed a small red light blinking on the panel. It was a signal weak, almost gone. "Huh," he muttered, leaning closer. He tapped a few keys and pulled up the source. It was a distress signal, very old. The computer tried to translate it, but it wasn't from any known language in the Galactic Union's database. Terran's curiosity sparked. The signal was coming from deep inside the nearby asteroid field, a dangerous place where ships didn't go. The rocks moved fast, and sensors didn't work well inside. No one wanted to risk their lives out there. He turned to call the control room, but stopped. He knew what they would say. "Don't waste time. It's just junk. Let it drift." But Terran felt something different. A signal this old. It could be anything. An old ship. A forgotten station. Maybe even something left behind by one of the ancient races. His heart beat faster. This was it. His chance. He went to the hangar and checked the maintenance shuttle. It was small, not made for deep space, but it had a shield and good engines. He loaded it with a few supplies, food, tools. A scanner hand slipped into the pilot seat. As he powered it up, the hangar door opened with a hiss. The stars shone beyond the shield gate. Terran looked out at the asteroid field. It spun like a giant storm, full of floating rocks and shadows. He took a deep breath. "Now let's find out what's out there." The shuttle slid into space, silent and smooth. Terran guided it carefully, weaving between slow-moving stones. The signal grew stronger, little by little. The ship's scanner beeped every few seconds. Hours passed. The asteroid field thickened, and the light from the sun grew dim. Terran used the sensors to dodge dangerous paths. Few times he had to stop and wait for larger rocks to pass. The signal pulled him forward like a whisper calling from the dark. Finally, he saw it. At first, it looked like part of an asteroid, but as he moved closer, he saw straight lines, metal, a hole. It was a ship, huge, broken, and ancient. Parts of it were buried in rock. The design was unlike anything he had ever seen. Smooth curves, strange symbols, and dark plating covered. In dust, Tar's breath caught in his throat. He'd found something. Forgotten. He brought the shuttle close and found a small entrance near the rear. With some careful flying, he docked and stepped out. The ship was cold and quiet. No lights, no sound, just the echo of his own footsteps. Inside, he walked through narrow halls, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. Walls were covered in strange carvings. Doors hung open or remained sealed with rust. It felt like walking through a tomb, but it wasn't fear he felt. It was hope. And he didn't know it yet. But this ship, and what it held inside, was about to change everything. Terran's boots echoed softly as he stepped deeper into the forgotten ship. His flashlight flickered as dust floated in the air. The air smelled old, like metal, oil, and time. The corridors were wide and curved, with tall walls covered in strange symbols. None of it looked like any design from the Galactic Union. He kept walking, careful with each step. This place was quiet, too quiet. But the silence didn't scare him. It felt like a sleeping giant. He could sense the ship had a story. One long forgotten, he stopped in front of a half-open door. The metal edges were bent and broken, but he squeezed through. Inside was a large room, maybe once a command center. Broken screens lined the walls. A giant table stood in the middle with a faded map made of dots and glowing lines. The light blinked slowly, weak, but still alive. Terran placed his hand on the edge of the table. It buzzed faintly under his glove. The technology was advanced far beyond anything he had ever seen. He wished the others could see this, but they would never believe him. And even if they did, they'd probably take credit for it. He pulled out his scanner and tried to read the ship's system. The screen blinked red. Unknown tech. No match found. Of course. This ship wasn't from any known race. Came from a civilization that no longer existed. Maybe from a time before the Union even began. Terran turned on the ship's data core, just for a moment. Most files were damaged, but one small signal repeated over and over. It was the same one he picked up from the outpost a weak distress call. He tried playing it, but the language was strange. Calm, soft voice said the same phrase again and again. It wasn't a warning. It wasn't a cry for help. It was an invitation. Terran tilted his head, listening. Why would a ship send an invitation for thousands of years? He asked aloud. His scanner beeped again. A small path lit up on the screen, a map to another part of the ship. A sealed chamber. He followed it. The hallways grew darker and colder. Some lights on the walls flickered for a moment as he passed, like they remembered him. He reached a tall door with glowing lines forming a circle in the middle. It had no handle, no buttons, just that circle. He stared at it. Now what? As if answering him, the circle lit up. Soft chime rang out. Then, to his surprise, the door began to slide open, slow and smooth, like it had been waiting. Inside was a chamber unlike any he had seen. The walls were black stone mixed with metal. Symbols floated in the air like glowing words. And at the center, on a raised platform, stood something incredible. It was a suit, tall, sleek, shaped like a human, but taller. The surface was dark gray, smooth like glass, but strong like steel. Lines of soft blue light ran across the chest and arms. It looked powerful, alive. Tiarn stepped closer, heart beating fast. This wasn't just armor. It was art. Ancient. Art built for battle. He didn't know why, but something inside him whispered, "It's meant for you." He slowly reached out and touched it. In an instant, the suit reacted. The lights brightened. The chamber lit up. The air changed. The platform lowered to his level, and the armor opened like a blooming flower. Terran stepped back in surprise. The voice returned, gentle and clear, but not in any known language. Yet somehow he understood. Compatibility. 99.9%. Host accepted. The armor moved on its own. Light wrapped around Terran's body like a fog. Then, piece by piece, the suit attached itself to him, First the boots, then the legs, the arms, and finally the chest and helmet. It felt warm, not heavy, not painful. Like it belonged, Taran stood still, breathing hard. The helmet wrapped around his head, but he could see clearly better than before. The walls now showed colors and energy patterns he couldn't see before. He moved his hand. The armor moved with him. Smooth, fast, powerful. He jumped once just to test and floated in the air for 2 seconds before landing gently. Then, his mind filled with information. Battle history, defense systems, energy control, flight patterns, combat records. It was all stored in the suit's memory. He didn't just wear the armor, he became it. The armor spoke again. Primary functions online, ready for mission. Taran took a deep breath. This was more than he expected. This was more than he ever dreamed. Whatever the ship was, whatever race built it, they had left behind something special. And now, it was part of him. But with great power came big questions. Why was this armor left behind? Who was it meant for? And why did it choose him? Taran looked around the chamber. There were murals on the walls, showing tall warriors in the same armor, standing against giant machines and strange alien beasts. In the final image, the warriors vanished into light, leaving behind their armor for the next to rise. The next to rise, Taran whispered. He understood now. This armor was a gift, a key, a second chance for whoever found it, and he had found it. With calm steps, he walked out of the chamber. The ship, which had been silent for so long, now hummed softly around him. Lights followed his path. The ship had awakened back in his shuttle. Taran sat in the pilot's seat, the armor fitting like a second skin. The ship's controls bent to his will. Even the old shuttle moved faster now, smoother. He flew back toward Kellenfor. He said nothing. No one would believe him anyway, but soon they would see. The stars drifted by slowly as Taran flew the shuttle back to Kellenfor. Inside the small cabin, all was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. But in Taran's mind, everything had changed. He sat still in the pilot's seat, wearing the ancient armor like it was part of him. The smooth metal suit didn't feel heavy. It moved with his body like a perfect fit. Every step, every movement was smooth and fast. He didn't feel tired. He didn't feel cold. He felt strong. He looked at his reflection in the shuttle window. The glowing blue lines across the armor pulsed softly. His eyes, visible through the helmet's visor, looked focused and calm. This was not just any suit. It was something powerful, something meant to protect, or maybe to fight. The memory. Data inside the armor had shown battles, ships, and strange creatures he had never seen before. The suit was a weapon and a shield, but Taran had no plans to fight anyone. At least not yet. I need to be careful, he whispered to himself. They won't understand. He had seen how the other workers treated him when he had no armor like. He didn't matter. If they saw him now, they might be scared. Or worse. They might try to take the suit. So, he made a decision. He would keep it a secret. At least for now. The shuttle entered Kellenfor's docking bay. The station scanners didn't recognize the upgrades the armor had made to the shuttle's systems. But they didn't stop him either. The bay doors opened slowly, and the ship landed gently inside. Taran powered down the engines and stood. He pressed his hand to the center of the armor's chest. With a soft sound, the metal began to shift. Piece by piece, it folded away into a small silver box, no bigger than his backpack. Tan held it carefully and tucked it inside his repair kit. Stay quiet, he said softly. Back in the hallways of the outpost, everything felt the same, but to Taran it looked different. The flickering lights, the humming pipes, the metal floors. Now he could hear things deeper, could sense heat through the walls, feel changes in energy around him. The armor had changed his body. Even without wearing it, he could feel its effect. When he entered the mess hall, the usual noise filled the air. Zarn, the green-scaled miner, was laughing loudly with 2 Bravax workers. Nelik sat nearby, clicking its claws while chewing something. As Soon as they saw Terran, the laughter began. "Look who's back," Zarn said. "The space explorer returns. Did you find any moon rocks to cuddle with, little human?" Terran didn't answer, simply walked to the corner, sat down and ate his meal quietly, but inside, he smiled just a little. He knew something they did. Later that day, Terran returned to his work. He repaired a broken power line near the station's cooling system. The pipe was cracked and leaking steam, dangerous to touch. Normally, he would have waited for safety gear. But today, something told him to trust himself. He reached out with bare hands and touched the pipe. The armor inside his body reacted. A thin layer of invisible protection covered his skin for just a moment, long enough for him to seal the crack without injury. He stepped back, blinking. "It works even when I'm not wearing it." His mind buzzed with excitement, but he kept. Quiet words spread fast around the outpost. Some crew members noticed how quick he worked now, how focused, how calm. Some whispered behind his back, "What's with the human? Did he upgrade himself? Maybe he's just lucky." Terran didn't say anything, but each night when he returned to his small room, he locked the door and studied the armor. Learned how it could shift forms, how it could scan other machines. It could heal small wounds, boost strength, even let him move faster than the eye could follow, though only for short bursts. The armor spoke to him sometimes in that same old voice. Combat training available. Stealth mode online, energy core at full capacity. Terran trained. Quietly in the cargo bay at night, when no one was watching, he practiced jumps, balance, aiming, and even hand-to-hand moves shown by the suit's memory. He wasn't a soldier. The armor seemed to guide him like a teacher. He wasn't just a worker anymore. He was becoming something else. One morning, a loud alarm rang through the station. "Emergency. Drill failure in shaft 3. Danger of explosion." Terran was already on his feet before the message ended. He grabbed his repair kit armor, hidden inside, and ran to the shaft. When he arrived, he saw the crew panicking. A large drill had overheated. Smoke poured from the base and sparks flew into the air. The controls were locked, and if the heat reached the fuel tanks, the whole section could blow. Zarn and the others stood back, unsure what to do. "We can't get close," one shouted. "It's too hot." Terran stepped forward. "I'll handle it," he said calmly. Dotzer scoffed. You'll get fried in seconds." Terran said nothing. He turned, opened his kit, and pressed his hand to the silver box. In a flash, the armor formed around him, fast and silent. Before anyone could react, he stepped into the smoke. Heat hit him like a wave, but the suit held firm. Inside the helmet, a screen showed weak spots in the drill. The armor suggested a repair route. He followed it. Wires snapped and sizzled as he moved. He dodged falling parts and shut off the main engine. Then he pulled a broken valve and sealed the leak with a tool powered by the suit's energy. In under a minute, the danger was gone. The smoke cleared. Terran stepped out, unharmed. The crew stared in shock. "What? What was that?" someone asked. "Was that armor?" Said another. Zaire looked pale. "That wasn't possible." Terran removed the helmet. His face was calm. He looked at them all and said only one thing: "Never judge what you don't understand." Then he walked away. That day, the laughter stopped. No one mocked him anymore. They didn't know where the armor came from. They didn't know how he got it. But they saw what he did. And for the first time, they didn't see Terran the human. They saw Terran the protector. And that was only the beginning. Since the drill accident, the mining outpost Kellen 4 felt different. Taya still walked the same halls. He still did his job, checked machines, and fixed systems. But now, when he passed other workers, they looked at him with quiet respect or confusion. No one laughed. No one pushed. Even Zarn said nothing. But it wasn't just the others who had changed. Terran himself felt different each day. He learned more about the ancient armor. It wasn't just a tool. It was a teacher, a silent guide. It responded to his thoughts, his emotions, and even his energy levels. It showed him how to improve his movements, how to see weak points in machines, how to stay calm under pressure, and slowly, without meaning to, he became faster, stronger, and sharper than ever before. At night, in the cargo bay, where no one watched, he trained with the armor. He ran across walls, dodged laser targets, and lifted heavy containers as if they were light. The suit didn't just protect his body, it strengthened it. Even without wearing it, his reflexes were better. His hands stopped shaking when he worked on tight circuits. The armor was bonding with him. He sometimes wondered, was it changing him too much? One evening, while checking the outer panels of the station, he stood at the edge of the observation deck, looking out into space. Stars blinked gently in the dark. The asteroid field, quiet and cold, stretched endlessly in the distance. He remembered the ancient ship hidden there, the forgotten technology, the silent voice of the armor that had accepted him. He whispered to himself, "Why did you choose me?" There was no answer. But somehow he felt like the armor believed in him. Maybe that was enough. The next day brought a new problem. The station's outer defense systems failed during a routine test. The turrets didn't lock onto targets. The scanners went blind for 10 seconds. A serious issue in deep space. If pirates or raiders attacked, it would have no warning. The control room called an emergency meeting. Terran stood quietly in the back while the senior officers argued. "We can't fix the system from here," said Officer Brell, a round, yellow-eyed alien with folded skin. "We need to go outside and repair the relay dish." Zarn crossed his arms. "Too dangerous. The last storm damaged the outer wall. Radiation levels are still high, but we need those defenses," someone else said. A short silence followed. Then, slowly, all eyes turned to Turned. He didn't speak at first. He didn't like the attention. But he knew this was his task. "I'll go," he said. Zarn raised an eyebrow. "You'll get cooked out there." "I won't," Terran said calmly. "Trust me." They gave him the access codes and watched from the windows as he walked toward the outer hatch. As soon as he reached the airlock, he pressed his hand to the silver box inside his kit. The armor came alive, wrapping around his body in seconds. The blue lights glowed softly inside the helmet. The visor adjusted to show air pressure, radiation levels, and heat readings. All systems normal. "Protection active," the armor whispered. Terran stepped into space. The surface of the outpost was rough, with metal panels and long cables running across the walls. His boots locked onto the surface with magnetic grips. He moved like he had done this many times before, even though it was his first time walking outside in full armor. The wind of space storms brushed past him, carrying sharp particles of dust and radiation. But the armor's shield held strong. He reached the broken relay dish. It was large and half torn from its base. Sparks flew from the wires. Any other worker would have needed hours to fix it. Terran scanned the damage. The armor displayed a repair. In 10 minutes, it was done. When he returned to the airlock, the officers were silent. They had watched everything through the cameras. No one had ever repaired an outer system so fast. Later that night, Zarn found him in the maintenance hall. The tall green alien didn't look angry, just confused. "You're not like before," Zarn said. Terran looked up from his tools. "I guess I'm not." Zarn stepped closer. "You were slow, weak, couldn't even carry a fuel can without help. Now you're something else." "What happened out there in the asteroid field?" Terran thought for a moment. Then he answered with honesty, "I found something." Zarn narrowed his eyes. "Something dangerous?" "No," Terran said. "Something forgotten." And he left it at that. Word spread across the station. Terran's name came up in every conversation. The human who fixed systems faster than machines. The worker who walked through fire and returned untouched. Some believed he had a secret suit. Others said he found ancient tech. No one knew for sure. But one thing was clear. Terra wasn't just the human anymore. He was something more. And that made some people nervous. That night, as Terran sat in his room, the armor resting quietly inside its case, he received a message. It was from someone he didn't know. "You've been noticed. Be careful who you trust." Terran stared at the screen. "Who sent this?" he asked aloud. No answer came. He looked at the armor. Then slowly he smiled. Whatever was coming, he was ready. Days passed, and Terran continued his work quietly on Kellen 4. The others still watched him. Some with respect, some with suspicion. No one made fun of him anymore. No one dared. But still, a few spoke to him. He didn't mind the silence. He used the time to train. He wanted to understand the ancient armor more, its power, its limits, and its purpose. Every night in the empty cargo bay, he practiced. Fast movements, quick turns, shield activations, energy control. The armor responded like it was alive. It wasn't just teaching him. It was learning from him, too. One morning, Terran was working in the lower levels of the outpost when the station's alert lights turned red. Warning: unidentified ships approaching. All crew report to emergency stations. Terran froze. This wasn't a drill. He ran to the control center. There, on the large screen, 5 enemy ships were shown moving toward the outpost. They were not from the Galactic Union. They were raiders. Space. Pirates. And they were known for taking whatever they wanted: resources, fuel, and even workers. They had attacked other outposts before, leaving nothing behind. "They're fast," said Officer Brell, voice shaking. "No time to call for help." Zarn looked out the window, fists clenched. "Our defense systems won't stop them." Not ready for a real fight. The outposts had only small weapons. Most were miners and engineers, not soldiers. And the turrets outside, already damaged, weeks ago, could only do so much. Panic filled the room, until one voice broke the silence. "I'll stop them." Everyone turned. Terran stood near the door, calm and sure. Officer Brell blinked. "You," Zarn stepped forward. "Listen, human. You've done well with repairs, but this is war." Terran didn't argue. He just said, "Open the bay doors." The hangar workers watched as Terran walked to his shuttle. He opened his repair case and pressed his hand to the silver box. In one smooth motion, the armor came alive. Blue light wrapped around his body. The suit locked into place. Gasps filled the room. For many, it was their first time seeing the armor with their own eyes. He stepped onto the shuttle and it lifted off. The floor silently. The ship's engine had been upgraded by the armor systems days ago. Now it moved faster, smoother, perfect for what was coming. The bay doors opened. Tarn flew into space. Outside, the raider ships grew closer. They were dark, sharp, and heavy with weapons. Each ship was 5 times bigger than Tarn's small. Shuttle dot inside the lead raider ship, the pirate captain laughed. "Only one ship coming to stop us? That station must be desperate." They charged their weapons, but they didn't know what Terran carried as the enemy ships opened fire. Terran's shuttle spun to the side. Red beams passed by harmlessly. D-side, the armor helped him steer, showing the best paths to dodge. Energy shield ready. Speed boost active. Terran pressed forward. The armor linked with the shuttle's weapons. A small launcher appeared under the wings, powered by the suit's energy. He fired once. A glowing blue blast hit the closest raider ship. It didn't explode, but its engine died. The ship started spinning, out of control. Terran moved fast, circling. The second ship. Raiders fired again, but he was already gone. Inside the outpost, the crew watched from the windows in disbelief. "He's flying like he's part of the ship," someone said. "No. Like the ship is part of him," said another. "Back in space." The raiders grew angry. They sent 2 fighters after him, small. Fast ships with sharp wings and laser cannons. Terran closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with focus. "Let's finish this." He flew straight toward them. The fighters locked on. Lasers fired at the last moment. Terran jumped from the shuttle. His armor carried him into space, thrusters on his back, keeping him steady. The shuttle turned on autopilot and flew into the distance to distract the fighters, Terran floating alone. In the dark, raised both hands. Energy charged in his palms. Then 2 blasts of pure light. Both fighters were hit. Their systems went dark. Terran turned. Flying back toward the last raider ship, The captain tried to flee. Too late. Terran landed on the ship's hull. His armored fists glowed with energy. He punched once, twice, and broke through the metal. Inside, the raiders panicked. They had never seen anything like him. Terran stepped through the smoke and stared at the captain. "Leave this sector," said. Voice calm but strong, "or I won't hold back next time." The captain, eyes wide with fear, nodded quickly. The raiders retreated back on Kellen 4. Cheers filled the station. Tear returned quietly, armor folding back into its compact form. He walked through the hangar without speaking. No one mocked him. No one questioned him. They just stared in awe. Zarn stepped forward. Slowly he looked Terran in the eyes. "I was wrong about you," he said. "All of us were." Terran gave a small nod. "It's not about being right or wrong. It's about what you do when it matters." That night, the stars looked a little brighter. Terran stood by the window. Looking out, the armor resting in its case beside him felt like a part of his soul now. He had found it in silence. He had trained in secret. And now, the Goxie knew his name. But something inside told him this was just the beginning. The ancient armor hadn't revealed all its secrets, and somewhere out there, more forgotten powers were waiting. Terrence stood outside the Kellen 4 outpost, watching the stars shimmer in the dark sky. The quiet hum of the station filled the air. The night felt peaceful, but Terran knew better. The galaxy was vast and full of danger. Its recent victory over the raiders was only the start. Suddenly, his communicator beeped. A message appeared on the screen, a known sender. "Your actions have drawn attention. The armor is more than a tool. It is a key. Protect it well." Terran frowned. Who sent this? And what did they mean by a key? He looked down at the silver box that held the ancient armor. The glowing blue lines pulsed softly. The armor seemed to respond. "Threat detected," it whispered. The next morning, Terran reported to Officer Brell. The message made the officers nervous. "We need to prepare," Brell said. "If someone else wants the armor, we must be ready to defend the outpost." Otsarn joined them, crossing his arms.
We don't have enough weapons.
"We need allies." Terran nodded. "I agree. The armor may be powerful, but I can't fight alone." The officers arranged a call to the nearby Galactic Union base. They sent a message asking for reinforcements. Meanwhile, Terran decided to search for answers about the armor's origin. If it was a key, what door did it open? What secrets did it hide? Days later, Terran returned to the asteroid field where he found the ancient ship. The place was quiet and cold, but the armor guided him. He landed near the hidden vessel. The surface was cracked and worn by time, but the ship's shape was clear. Inside, the corridors were dark and silent. Terran moved carefully, armor glowing faintly. He reached a chamber filled with strange symbols and glowing panels. The armor activated a projection. Images floated in the air stars' planets. Battles long ago. A voice spoke softly inside his helmet. "This armor is part of the Guardian's legacy. It holds the power to protect or destroy. The wearer must choose the path." Terran's heart raced. Guardians? A legacy? The armor was more than he imagined. As he explored deeper, Terran found a locked console the armor's energy connected to. The door opened with a hiss. Inside was a map of the galaxy. Several points glowed in red danger zones, others in blue safe havens. The map showed a path to a hidden world called Ilios. The voice spoke again. "Ilios holds the secret of the Guardians. Seek it before those who hunt you find it first." Terran knew what he had to do. He returned to Kellen 4 with a plan. The outpost was tense when he arrived. Officers were preparing defenses. Workers moved in quiet groups, unsure of what the future held. CERN approached Terran. "If this is real, how do we find it?" Terran pulled out the map projection. "It's far. But if we reach it first, we can learn more about the armor and its power." The officers agreed to help. They sent word to the Galactic Union for a fleet to join them. Supplies were packed. Plans were made. As Terran prepared for the journey, The armor's voice warned again. Enemies are near. They watch your every move. That night, Terran slept lightly. The silver box lay on his table, glowing softly. Suddenly, a shadow moved outside. His room Duran woke and grabbed the armor. The door hissed open. A tall figure stepped inside, cloaked, silent. "Who are you?" Terran asked. The figure lowered the hood. "I am Kale," the stranger said. "I come as a friend." Kale explained he was a guardian, part of an ancient order sworn to protect the galaxy's secrets. He said the armor was one of many, scattered, and lost over centuries. "Those who seek the armor want to use it for control," Kale warned. "You must reach Ilios before they do." Terran listened closely. "I don't want power," Terran said. "I just want to protect my home." Nodded. "Then you carry the true spirit of the Guardians." The next day, the fleet was ready. Terran boarded a larger ship equipped for long travel. Zarn officer Brel and a team of trusted crew joined him. As the ships left Kellen 4, Terran looked back. The station seemed small against the endless stars, but he felt ready. With the armor, with his new allies, he would face whatever came next. The journey to Ilios had begun. The fleet moved steadily through the vast darkness of space. Stars shimmered like diamonds, lighting the way to Ilios, a distant world that held secrets older than anyone could imagine. Terran stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the ancient armor resting quietly inside its case beside him. He felt the weight of the journey ahead, but also a strange calm. Beside him, Zarn adjusted the ship's controls, eyes sharp and alert. Officer Brel studied the star maps carefully. Even Kale, the mysterious guardian, remained silent, lost in thought. After days of travel, Ilios appeared on the sensors. It was a beautiful planet, covered in forests of blue trees and glowing plants. Strange mountains rose like teeth, and rivers shimmered with silver light. As the fleet approached, Terran felt the armor pulse softly. It was as if the planet itself called to him. "We'll land near the ancient ruins," Kale said. "This is where the Guardians left their greatest secrets." The ships touched down gently on the soft ground. The air was fresh, but carried a strange energy. Terra and Kale walked together toward the ruins. The stones were covered in glowing symbols. Similar to those inside the ancient ship, the armor's lights brightened. Suddenly, the ground trembled. From the trees, a group of cloaked figures appeared. Their eyes shone red. They were the hunters, those who wanted the armor for power. The fleet's guards raised their weapons, but Terran stepped forward, armor activating around him. "Leave now," he warned. "This place is protected." Hunters laughed. "We want the armor. Give it to us." Terran's eyes narrowed. The battle began. Terran moved like a shadow in the dark, his armor glowing with power. Energy blasts flew through the air. Hunters attacked fiercely, but the armor protected him. Every punch, every dodge was faster and stronger than before. Zarn and Brel fought beside him, using their weapons and skills. Kale called upon powers, unseen, creating shields of light. But the hunters were many. Tira knew they had to reach the heart of the ruins, the place where the Guardians' power was strongest. Fighting through the battle, Terran reached a large stone door covered in glowing runes. The armor responded, unlocking the door with light. Inside was a chamber filled with ancient technology machines humming with energy. Walls alive with history. A pedestal stood in the center. Holding a crystal that shone like the sun, Kale stepped forward. "This is the heart of the Guardians," he said. "It will reveal the true power of the armor." Terran approached and placed his hands on the crystal. A wave of energy flowed through him. Images flashed, visions of the past, Guardians standing against darkness, the armor's creation as a symbol of hope and strength. The armor's voice spoke clearly inside his helmet. "You are the chosen protector. Use this power to unite, not to divide." Terran felt a surge of strength unlike anything before. The armor glowed brightly, wrapping him in light. The hunters outside sensed the change. They tried to break in, but the chamber's energy pushed them back. The battle ended quickly. when silence returned. Terran looked at his friends. "This armor is not just about fighting," he said. "It's about protecting everyone, humans, aliens, all who seek peace." Kale nodded. "You have fulfilled the Guardian's promise." Zarn smiled. "I'm proud to fight by your side," Dofsir Brell added. "The galaxy will hear of this. You will be a legend." Terran smiled quietly. The fleet left Elios carrying the New Hope with them. The outpost Kellenfor was safe again, and the armor's legacy had just begun. Terran knew challenges would come, but now he was ready not just as a human, but as a guardian. The stars stretched before him, endless and full of promise. End of story.